Welcome to Business Prowess with Raphael and Dr. Andrea. Our show will bring you the best insights, ideas, and inspiration from successful entrepreneurs and CEOs in the business world. Don't miss out on the opportunity to learn from the best and stay ahead of the game. Sifu Raphael is the founder of 5 unique shows. He's a fitness professional, solutions expert, executive coach, and head instructor at Max Martial Arts and Fitness in New York. Dr. Andrea Adams Miller is an award-winning international keynote speaker, best-selling author, and CEO of the Red Carpet Connection Publicity, Publishing, and Talent Agency, and CEO of IgniteYourRelationship.com. Known as the Dream Maker, she makes visionaries' dreams come true, bigger than they ever dare to desire.
Dr. Andrea, how are you today?
Well, I am hunky-dory and happy to see you, Sifu.
Yes. Always hunky-dory. I love it. So happy. You have a brand new 2-month-old granddaughter.
Not me personally, granddaughter. My children are over, they're 27, 28, and 35. So I have done my time. But yeah, I have a 2-month-old and a 5-month-old, and I have the privilege of watching the 2-month-old every other week. So my mother, so her Nana, so her great grandmother is watching her while I'm on the show with you. So how cool is that? Multiple generations, still alive and still very active.
I love it. Wow, powerful. I can't wait to bring our guests on, so let's not wait anymore. Let's go ahead and bring them in. Zach and Scott, gentlemen, welcome to Business Prowess. How are you today?
Very well. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, honored to be here.
Well, we have some, exciting opportunities right now, because people right now I live in Ohio. We just came out of a level 3 all weekend. So people are excited about being able to travel. And so having Zach on, where he's been all over the world, where things might be a little warmer in other places, is always going to be a welcome treat to talk about. And then Scott, if I remember correctly, you live in Texas and you were experiencing winter.
We are, and we want to send it back.
Yeah. So talk about being present over pressure. You and I were both in some crazy weather, and then Zach, maybe you were too. We don't know where you were.
Well, actually, not this storm. In Southern California, we've been 70 and sunny, so very fortunate to have missed this round. Yeah.
So what have you been finding that when we talk about presence over pressure was showing up for you? Even though we were having it, like, how do we show up even though we have the pressure of showing up despite weather challenges? What have been those challenges for you that you've been able to show up even though?
Well, presence to me is an ongoing thing. You have to actively decide to stay in that mindset. It's very easy to go down the distraction path or the scrolling path. And I'm guilty of sometimes, like, I just want to check out and watch a show. So there's the modern world is full of opportunities to deviate from presence. And part of what I try to do for our clients and in travel is really give them the peace of mind that presence emerges, and therefore they're able to create more memories and really be around their family, connect with the culture. So we do that through our travel process, but it's because I've had such transformative travel experiences over the years and been able to connect with locals and really understand what it means to be in a place. And the goal is to try to give that gift to our visitors, even though they only have 10 days or a week, but just to kind of get into that state of being.
And Scott, how about you?
Well, it's interesting. We tend to spend most of our time either in the past or in the future. So presence is a wonderful choice. And yeah, down here in Dallas, when we had sleet, snow, and sleet to hard pack at 3 inches, you just change your world and you get very present in a different way. And we tend to gather together and huddle, which is not all a bad thing, but we have done a probably more calls, more Zooms, more video calls, and talked to people around the country and around the world this week than normal, just from the standpoint of we were very present being indoors and didn't have a whole lot of other choices. So let's make the best of it.
Sifu, did you find it funny? Because I noticed that too, that people after, 5 days of being sequestered kind of to home because of the levels and the ice and the snow, people were, clawing literally like to get out and see people and trying to go to restaurants and do that thing. And I thought, how did we make it through COVID all that time? Because now people are like, it's been 3 days. Ah!
That is so true, because a lot of people don't like to be cooped up. They find that being at home, they don't get a lot done. Meanwhile, I'm a home person, but I love to travel. So go crazy, right? So I love being home. And the reason I love what Zach does is because, and Zach and I had this conversation, if I go to a different country, I don't want to go where the tourists go, because what is it? A tourist trap. So you're going to see the Americanized, if you will, version of that country. And I rather see what the locals see. I rather eat with the locals. So even in my own town, there's a lot of places that are hyped, if you will, for the general population. I rather go to the mom and pop type of places and visit with them, because I think you get the flavor so much more. And one of the things that we're talking about today is presence over pressure. And what a lot of people don't realize what pressure really is, it's stress. So people are stressing about all the things that are not necessarily as important because they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah. When traveling, I usually will ask for a taxi cab driver, somebody who I can have good rapport with, and then ask them to take us off the beaten path and go around and find new people. And other people find that extremely stressful. And I actually find it calming and more peaceful in a way, because I know that I'm going to be with real people and not the flash and pomp and circumstance. I can see Zach and Scott both agree with that. And Sifu, I've been watching storing some TikToks of places to go that are hidden gems in New York and Manhattan for the day that I come up your way, so that we can go maybe explore all of these little hidden gems I found out that people don't know are open to the public and actually are, like libraries and hidden rare book museums and little restaurants that look like a forest that are in a private building. So super fun.
Absolutely. And it's very interesting, because when people come here, I take them to places that they didn't even know existed. And that's what happens when you're local, right? You kind of like look at the different places and you get to enjoy them. And all of a sudden and then when everybody finds out, you have to go somewhere else. So anybody who needs to travel, Zach is your guy if you want to immerse yourself in the culture instead of the traps, if you will. You want to talk about that a little bit, Scott? Scott and Zach, you guys. I'm going back and forth here, but Zach.
Sure. Yeah, and it's really simple. And you touched on stress. I mean, stress follows people even while they're traveling, and it is the enemy of presence. And so really where we focus is connecting people to local insiders that know their country and are passionate about each visitor having a great experience, as well as helping the client understand, hey, these are all the point-to-point logistics. This is where you'll be staying. These are the experiences that we're designing for you. And that becomes like a long form conversation over a period of time until that whole trip feels great. And then, of course, upon arrival to departure, we're managing all those experiences and are accountable to that client experience. So it's a harder way to essentially carve out a business because there's a lot of moving parts. It's more complicated. There's a lot of communication. It would be much easier to sell cruise ship packages or flights and hotels to an all-inclusive. But those are essentially tickets to a closed industrialized system rather than an open ticket to the world where you're experiencing and being supported by the local vendors that really can give you that meaningful travel experience that I hope you desire. But it's hard. Lots of people just want to go to the buffet line and say that they were traveling and it's not real travel. But we're trying to be the outlet for the people that want to have real travel.
You mean destination fun? Right.
Yeah, it's listen, there's nothing wrong with wanting to relax, and the thing is you're choosing this desire to relax, but then you're around 500 other hotel rooms with 4 or 5 restaurants. You're told it's not safe to go outside, or you're on a cruise ship, which is a ticket to a giant mall, and floating around and not experiencing each place. So to me, it makes no sense. And when you're a backpacker or when you're someone that has moved around safely to different places and different countries and met people, you realize, hey, the world is very open, very friendly. And there's networks that you can plug into as we age and, you have children or loved ones that aren't as adventurous. You can get a structured trip that really helps you have that experience as of discovery and traveling around. And that's where we come in. That's really our specialty.
Yeah. I don't like cruises. I went on one, and did you notice I said one? But it's not for me. I know I have a lot of friends who are like, oh my God, I'm going on a cruise. I can't wait. I'm like, oh, have fun. But to me, it's a floating hotel. And it's a floating hotel that you can't escape. And when I was on that cruise, I went over the edge and I was like, could I swim now? And I don't think I could. I said, it looked like it's a 40-foot jump. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to do that right now because then the ship will keep going and I'll be swimming by myself. And I don't know if there's sharks in there. But when we think about the presence over pressure, I mean, wow. And we want to take the pressure off. We want to be present when we're on vacation because we do want to maybe have a pina colada or whatever it is, have sand between our toes and so forth. And there are certain places that you could go like that, and they give you. And I've been to them, and I've been to a resort that was gorgeous. I mean, I literally had the beach to myself, and then they did say, "Oh, be careful when you go outside the development," because it was huge, but it was gated, right? And I was like, "No, I'm going to go to town." They're like, "Oh, yeah." I was fine. And the whole thing is that we have to understand that people are looking out for our best interests, but also if you realize we live in a world where people are looking for our wallet. And that's their best interest too. So think of that, Scott. Where you've been all over the world as well. What was some of the best destinations you would say besides your house?
I think one of the favorite spots was probably Singapore, just because it's significantly different than so many other places. It's phenomenally clean. The roadside markets and the little eateries. It's funny, we're having this conversation. I haven't been there now in a number of years, but we were having this conversation just the other day because it was so interesting to choose local foods. You see things hanging that you certainly don't see hanging on a wire in Dallas and things like that. but just the friendliness of the people and being able to experience some of those things. And yeah, being a marketplace, it's fairly full, but it's just friendly and interesting. It's amazing when you can feel the culture in the warmth of the people in the various nature. So it's one of those all-time memories, and I think that's a big part of what travel is, right? The experience, being experiential, past being on a boat or a plane or things like that. It's really seeing the world in a different way. We tend to get so caught up in our own little world wherever we might live. It's pretty cool to see what's out there. It's a pretty awesome world out there.
Yeah. I mean,
Andrew, I'd love to ask you that question, and then I'm going to ask the same thing to Zach, because I'm just curious, what's your favorite place that you've been to? You go all over. You so many times. You even like to drive. You're one of these. You're like me. I love driving, and sometimes we've met each other in a place, and you're like, oh, how many hours did you drive? And you're like, I drove 9 hours, 12 hours, and I was like, oh, I drove 7 hours, or whatever it is. But sometimes it's the experience of getting there as well, right? What was your favorite place?
Yeah, so I just counted how many years ago it's been since I've been there. So 40 years ago, I went to was in 7 different countries, part of my Girl Scout troop, and we went to Switzerland. And it was so beautiful and clean there. And I remember joking about, like, I could literally eat off the streets and the sidewalks. Everything was so clean. And we went to multiple different cities and were there the longest. And even though I've been, I don't know, I think I've only been to 32 countries, maybe 27, I forget. But for some people, they're like, only, but other people, like Zach's probably been to more, I love to be able to go and experience other cultures. And all of my trips are business trips. I've only been on 2 vacations in the 30 years I've been with my husband. And that's because, and we travel together. I travel by myself more. But the 2 times that we went and I did no work, and every time I started to work, they were like grabbing laptops and phones away from me. I actually enjoy using trip and travel as my work, whether it's a retreat or being with other people. I find that also relaxing and fun, and being able to talk about business at the same time. So to me, travel more is associated with having fun at work. And although I did finally, the second time I was like, okay, I'm able to nail the vacation. But then it was just really focusing the business of family. And that's what I did, because we had our kids with us. So I was able to niche in. And I really wish people would do it more, even if it's just they're in their local town or just go outside your county line, go outside your state line. And I'm going to share a quick story, and then I want to hear what Zach has to say. So my father-in-law's girlfriend, she said she wanted to go to someplace exotic. We live in Ohio, mind you. And we said, oh, well, what's exotic? And she said, Kentucky. And we were like, yes, he's very exotic. So get a kick out of that. You never know what's exotic to somebody.
True.
And Zach, you?
Well, I would say, still to this day, there's one country that stands out as far as setting a bar that is congruent with my values and just completely stunning and beautiful and wonderful people, and that's Costa Rica. It's nearly 100% renewable energy. They made the choice that was it was bold, and they decided to conserve about 30% of their country for national parks. They really built up a middle class and brought clean water, healthcare, and education to everyone in their country. And roughly 40% of their GDP is hosting visitors. So lots of small businesses are involved in hosting visitors as they arrive into the country. And so what that creates is just an ecosystem where it's safe, there's wildlife, there's just a general infrastructure of small and medium-sized boutique hotels all over the place. And you can still spend maybe $60, $70 a night, or you can spend $2,000 a night. So it has a really wide range of what's possible for many types of visitors. It's gotten more expensive over the years, but it's still just a beautiful country with many beaches and a great local population as well. So that's still like high on my heart as far as setting a model for what's possible in the ecosystem of travel. There's a lot of other bad examples that I could list as far as.
Okay, give us at least one. Give us at least one.
Well, you could take a look at certain big cities in Mexico where they went all in on big concrete hotels, tourism zones, basically is what they're called, where you just have resort after resort after resort, and it's not Mexican culture. It's just they're just selling people that want to have food and drink in a place that's warm and sunny. And so it's really a tragedy because Mexico has so much more to offer. Once you actually understand how great the real food is, how historic some of their cities are. I mean, people don't even realize like the pyramids that are south of near Mexico City and Teotihuacan are as dramatic as Egypt. I mean, they're amazing. So there's a society there. There's an intelligence in that culture that often people just completely miss because they're just like, I'm here to party. And so you can look at certain cities like Cabo and Cancun and Acapulco back in the day, these places, there's just, they've hollowed it out. And so the local population's not winning because they're essentially indentured servants to the big hotel groups and the property owners. And there's no real mixing between locals and visitors. And there's not many small businesses. So, we decided to launch Mexico, but really focused on the alternative mid-sized destinations where there's tons of small businesses. It's safe. There's a local tourism network in each of these places that really is trying to allow people to experience Mexico. So, cooking classes, doing eco tours, doing the sort of things that allows people to really have a better understanding of the culture. And so I could go on, but travel is it's a big part of our world GDP, and the choices that we make as visitors really have a big impact on what future construction gets built and what the demand will end up looking like over time. Because if we want this homogenous, all-inclusive, let me just do that, there's just going to be more and more of that, and there'll be more and more cultural erosion that occurs over time. And so I think there's actually a bit of a responsibility we have as visitors to these places.
And thank you for that. I think that you reminded me of the last time I was in Mexico, and I had to threaten the cab driver because it was 4 a.m. and we were going to the airport. And like most people, they get in at that time, they get in, they're sleepy, and then they take a nap until they get to the airport. Not me. And so I notice up ahead that there's lights flashing at him, and he flashes back. And then he starts to slow down. I leaned over by his ear, and I said to him in Spanish, if you value your life, you don't slow down anymore and you speed up. And I stayed right by his ear until he sped up. And then I guess we were not one of the victims that night or that morning, if you will. But it's also, I think, when we think about everything that we do in business, right? Because this is a business show, and thank you for talking about travel and all that. But even in business, we do travel. We travel from home to our business, and from our business to see another business if we're doing business with other businesses. And Scott, you talk about the winning game of sales because you are a sales leader, you're a coach, you help so many people understand that everything and every day is a sale, right? You sell yourself on business adventures, on travel, on the food you eat. You sell yourself every day, and someone else is still selling you. So, how do we become present when there's pressure for us either to buy or to sell something? I thought I'd turn it that way around.
Well, I think it's an interesting premise there. The reality is the only reason we should be under pressure to sell anything, or there quite frankly shouldn't be any reason to be in that situation. The presence is knowing that we're solution providers and we should only sell to those who should be sold, meaning we should only present our solutions to those who need those solutions. We shouldn't try to be doing things. And that's where the real presence comes in. I think the reason I work to help demystify selling and truly say every time we open this thing right here, it's a sales presentation. I'm saying things now, you're going to either accept it or reject it. If you accept it, great, we've made some progress. If you reject it, it's called objection handling, right? We take it down a different path. But the presence is having the awareness of serving somebody. Selling is actually serving. If we are truly offering up a solution that can make their life better, the presence is knowing that, in fact, we're solving a problem for them, and therefore we have the invitation to share that opportunity with them. Notice it wasn't the O word, it was the I word. It's not obligation, it's invitation. If we have something, and that's what's cool, it's fun to listen about travel because I've been blessed to travel a lot through my speaking career and training career. And it's interesting to hear other people's takes on some of the places I've been and then some of the places that I haven't been yet. My daughter is actually planning her wedding in Costa Rica because of a lot of the things that Zach was saying. So I think that's really cool. Anyway, presence is about awareness and being in the moment and truly being here and having everybody understand that, quite frankly, they're the most important thing at this moment, at this time. And when we share that with people and truly work to understand their needs, we can then present in such a way that serves them. And ultimately, as you know very well, Sifu, I come out of the Ziegler camp. You can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want. When we truly provide solutions to people, it's absolutely amazing what happens. And I think that's what Zach is saying too, from curating trips, right? It's curating experiences that they probably haven't had before because of the awareness he has that those things are available. Same thing in presenting any kind of offer to somebody. As long as we are present to what there is, there really should be no pressure because now it's a choice. And I say often, in trainings, how many of you dislike salespeople? How many of you are salespeople? Well, we're all selling every minute of every day. We're offering things up for consideration. I would suggest that people don't dislike salespeople. I would suggest they just dislike manipulators. Manipulators do things for their reasons. Professional salespeople do things for the prospect's reasons. And they just help communicate that message because they're very present to their needs. And when we align those, we can be present without pressure. And I think that's the greatest thing we can ever achieve when we're presenting a solution.
I guess that's why a lot of people, they freeze instead of moving forward when they're in front of somebody who is trying to um, not really be clear about their mission of why they're trying to sell them something, right? So a lot of people will not move forward. I was at a place and somebody said to me, well, you know, so and so would rush and do this thing right there. I said, oh, that's really interesting, you know, because the person that you just brought up, I know they're famous. I know them personal. And I know they would not rush into what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you're only saying that because you didn't know I know them. Guess what? I'm not buying either. So it was really interesting when they try to pressure you into buying something that you really didn't even want. Right? So that's the wrong kind of salesperson. You're right. I don't want them in front of me, and I don't ever want to be that one either.
Well, that's exactly it. If we take the time, and again, the first part of this is presence, right? Presence is understanding. It's awareness. It's knowing the situation, and how do we stay present to the situation?
Mm-hmm.
We identify somebody's needs, wants, and desires, and when we do that, we should, as experts, be able to align our offer to that need. And it's quite frankly one of the reasons I suggest people become an asset to everyone they meet, a spontaneous servant every time. If I find out your need and I don't have that solution, I'll direct it to Dr. Andrea or to you or to Zach. It's when we try to go outside our area of expertise or with an appropriate solution that people get into problems. And I teach just the opposite. Is serve people first. The rest takes care of itself.
I'll speak on that. With different, I work with elite, CXO clients, executives and CEOs and CFOs. And when they're in a situation where they are feeling a lot of pressure, I'll tell them to, there's different, like a thing called Hakalau. It's a way of putting yourself in like a trance state where you just look up for a moment and give yourself, just a couple seconds to tap in, and allows your mind to expand and open wider and for you to be able to be present in the moment. And as soon as you stop putting the pressure on yourself, because maybe you're thinking, where's my PowerPoints, or what was the pitch, or what did I want to share, or how do I want to negotiate this, or what was this guy's name, and I said, just be present. And when you fully are looking at them and present, if you've already done your research and you've learned about them, then that will come to you. It'll allow it to come. And then if you don't know any background information, if you're just present with the person, you'll be able to pick up subtle cues from how they dress, how they talk, how they show up in the world, maybe things around them, the people around them, and you'll hear different clues and cues in their voice that allow you then to follow. So even if you don't have anything from the past, you now have whatever's in the present because you're fully present. So one of my catchphrases, so I hadn't planned on sharing this today. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to share my catchphrase. The present is your presence. Yeah. So cool beans. Scott, Zach, you're nodding. You had a thought?
Well, I think, going back to where we started is it's these micro moments that matter as far as what you're signaling and how you're reflecting in the moment and being able to meet someone where they're at. It takes attention, and I think that's another key word when it comes to presence. We've shrunken the average attention span so much because of just the modern life we're in, and so therefore the most valuable thing you can do is to give someone your full attention, be present, and then you're able to meet them where they're at, understand, and connect.
I got to tell you, Dr. Andrew, when you were talking about the leaders, right? They must be calm, clarity, and have control. You reminded me of one of my clients, and every time he did this, I said, "Oh, he's reading the book in in heaven," because every time he had a thought, he couldn't just think it. He had to actually look up and like, "Oh, he's reading his book again in the heavens," right? And then he would come back and be present, and he was brilliant. But that's what he did because he needed that time to collect his thoughts. And I used to make fun of it in my eternally. I never said it to him. And I said, "Oh, he's reading that book again." And then he's going to come back with something brilliant that he usually did, right? And I love that because it gives somebody a chance to pause before they blurt something out and then later on say, "Oh, I didn't mean to say that." But if we take that pause, that gives us a chance to read our book, right? To gather our thoughts and to be able to say, "You know what? I'm not going to let you pressure me or assume that I'm going to answer this way because maybe you're angry or you want this type of answer. I'm going to pause. I'm going to reflect. I'm going to really calculate how I'm going to respond."
Well, I think the other side of that is the more relaxed that we are, the more relaxed the person we're talking to will be. You know, when we, you know, technically it's called matching and mirroring, but take the technique away from it and just take the realism to it. You know, when you're calm and aware and in control and looking at people in the eyes and you're really engaged with them, it makes so much difference. It's you know, people think communication is the words, and the words are the smallest part of the communication. It's the making the words dance, the tonality, it's the physiology, it's the looking at people. You know, I find it fascinating when people are at events. You know, they start this conversation and then all of a sudden they're looking over the person's shoulder for, you know, where's my next conversation? Where can I get to? As opposed to just saying, I'm going to stay here until this is complete. When this is complete, I'll go to the next spot. And the difference between that person that wanders and the person that truly gives attention and listens, good Lord is on our side. We got 2 ears, 1 mouth. They call that a clue, right? And if we were to do more of that, it would be amazing what happens. I think the lack of presence actually can increase pressure because you're so tactical in your process. You're working so hard to do something. It's like being busy to be busy. Don't. Just be present, be there. And I agree with you, Andrea. The present truly is presence. It makes a ton of sense if you just let it sink in a little bit.
In neuro-linguistic programming, so when we're training people how to be a practitioner or a trainer, we have them look for eye patterns. And so depending, people are organized different ways. Some people, just like people are left-handed and right-handed. So I'll just use that as an analogy right now. Some people, when they're looking up and to the right, they're creating what they're going to say. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're lying. It might mean that they have multiple thoughts and they're creating them together to formulate what they're going to say. And then the other way is that they're, looking to the past to recall what the memory was that they have. And so sometimes people will read those, different things for eye patterns and assume that someone's lying. But if they're reversed organized or if they're trying to pull things together from other things, they might do this and then do that. And so it makes it fun, but it is really awesome when you learn those different, we call them micro expressions. Then you learn different ways to figure out what people are doing. And it especially helps if you ask them questions then so that you can hear what like ask them, what color was your car? Or describe your first car to me. What did it look like? And then if they will go like that to look at the car, they're looking at the car in the past. Or are they, or like, what kind of car would you, if you could have any kind of car, what would it look like? And paint it for me now, or something. They might go over here to create it in the future. So it's a fun skill set to have. And it helps you overcome the pressure, because if somebody else is pressured, then they might feel like they have to try to work harder to, get you the answer, and, just being able to pick those things up better. And if you can put them at a calmer state, then they'll be more present and not be scurrying.
What would life be like for everybody watching, or everybody who will watch this later on, if there was no stress, no pressure? What decisions would you finally make in your life? What things have you been putting off because maybe the pressure is too much and you're like, I can't handle it? But what if there was none? What would we do? Before we answer that, take a look at this.
You followed the rules, tried the restrictions, counted the carbs, the steps, and the failures. You're not lazy, you're exhausted from doing it all without real change. What if the problem isn't you, but the plan? Sifu's Mind Body Method is a 90-day transformation built on 7 unshakable pillars: mindset, movement, nutrition, hydration, fasting, journaling, and faith. This isn't another shortcut. It's your structure, your strength, your reset. You don't need harder, you need better. Ready to begin? Start today.
No pressure, right?
I love it.
My good friend Dana Abbott, actually, by the way, Dana, thank you for being here. Dana is known as the American, are you ready for this? He's American Samurai Warrior. And he actually trained in Japan, and he is one of the highest ranks in the world, for me anyway. But in reality, he is. He's one of the highest ones. And he also talks about no stress, no pressure. It becomes simple. And that I thank you for saying that. So I'd like to ask you guys, what do you think if there is absolutely no pressure, no stress, what would our lives be like?
Well, I think it'd be awesome. I don't anticipate that ever happening, but I think it would be absolutely awesome. I think
Scott.
I think it'd be utopia. It'd be wonderful, but at the same time, I think there are always, they're yin and the yang and everything. They're positives and negatives to all, which ultimately create. I don't know that you're going to eliminate stress. I think it's how you handle it, right? If you have the ability to process it, and again, I think presence is. Don't self-inflict issues, right? I mean, and I think that's where presence sets in this whole thing. If you're in a conversation, be in this conversation. I think if you're trying to multitask, I think we have a pretty good understanding that while it's an interesting concept, it doesn't work. If we would stay in one thing at a time, I think that would take the stress off, because all of a sudden we have these other expectations. Our expectation is to make this a fully wonderful experience until I go to the next fully wonderful experience. So while it'd be great to have no stress, I don't anticipate it happening. It's now a matter of managing and handling and learning process.
I do like the fact that you talked about it's how do you handle the stress? Because to lift weights, you have to stress your muscles, right, in order for them to grow. So there is stress all over. But I think if we take the right actions, we can probably reduce the unwanted stress.
Right.
Right. when they say don't sweat the small stuff. There's so much truth in that. Oh my goodness. So many people, it's the little things that they get crazy on, and because they're avoiding the bigger issues. So handle the big issues, and the small ones will sweat.
I'll respond. You know, part of what I do is help people to reframe their life and the way they think things, so that they're not creating stories and creating stress. And I was kind of thinking when we were all pausing there for a moment, even if we took away all other people and all other stress and all the money and all the time and all the opportunity was there, some people would create even more stress because that is what motivates them to move or to change or to do nothing, and that is a secondary gain by being able to stay where they're at. And I find it more and more like I had something happen yesterday that could have been extremely stressful, and I was like, oh, okay. In fact, so much I took it in stride that one of my daughters said, I think you're downplaying that. And I'm like, and I and I realized I was so glad she shared that, because other people's perception is that I'm downplaying. And so where for me, I didn't feel like I was downplaying it. I just was like, okay, that happened. And instead of having, guilt, worry, stress, shame, fear, any emotions, I just was like, oh, okay, that happened. And that was this. It was kind of like, if you spill a glass of milk, here's milk broke. Clean it up, move on, instead of, trying to find who spilt this milk and who's going to, be responsible for buying more. I wasn't in that frame of mind. And so it is very interesting, to the ability to recoup and get your resilience around things, and then be able to still move forward. And I find that it's easier and easier every day the more I use all these skills. Zach?
Well, yeah, I mean, you brought up some things that I often think about as well, is just perspective in general. You said reframe, but certainly keeping what's really important, as far as our health, our well-being, staying grounded in that. A lot of the little things do just kind of become less relevant. They're things we have to deal with, but do we want to feel that emotional wave of stress or cortisol or the hormones that get triggered when you react in such a way that it just triggers anxiety or triggers fear or triggers shame, all these different things. The other kind of stress that people, I think, really in this modern era experience is this fear of missing out, or that there's never enough. And I think that's a really challenging one, because the truth is, I mean, people with all the resources in the world still feel like it's not enough, which means they've not really gotten in touch with themselves on some deeper level. They're in a comparison mode, and way past a point that is, quote unquote, realistic or normal. I mean, there's I think a real art to living, and it doesn't have to do with resources, and it doesn't have to do with some of these exogenous measurements that people are always comparing themselves to. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for that answer. Really, and you talked about perspective, so thank you for that, because it is everybody's perspective of the way they see things, the way they see the world, the way they see themselves in the world. But we've come to that point in the show that we need to end it, unfortunately. Great conversation, everybody. So what I'd love to do right now is give everybody 45 seconds, share with us why somebody needs to connect with you. And by the way, you need to connect with them, every one of them. So Zach, your website's going across the bottom, so why don't you go first?
Great. Well, listen, we're here for people that want to have real experiences, travel in the real world, and have a plan when they show up into these amazing geographies. So we're anywhere.com, and we have a process where we just want to get to know you and what makes you tick as a traveler, and we're going to facilitate those experiences and give you that nice balance of structured and unstructured time for you to make durable, long-lasting memories with you and your loved ones.
Love it. Love it. Everybody make sure you connect with Zach. And Scott, you're up.
You know, I worked to demystify the sales and presentation process. Again, everything is a sale. The good news is every time you're selling, you're serving. So if you want to serve more people and do it and have more fun doing it. I mean, that's the bottom line is know that you're doing it for a noble cause, a noble reason, and want to feel better about it. Let's just connect. And if there's nothing that I do that is beneficial to you, let's just become friends. Let's just have a call. It's just fun talking to people. So
make sure you guys connect with him. He is an incredible human being. And Dr. Andrea.
Yeah, Dr. Andrea Adams-Miller. So I'm an applied neuroscientist and executive advisory council. I guess we could word it like that. And, I work with high-level leaders, and what do I do is I help them decode their lives, both their professional and personal lives, so that they can, have better relationships and better communication and turn, clarity in their world into authority, visibility, and revenue options so that they can live their legacy while they're still alive. So, yeah, thank you so much. TheRedCarpetConnection.com.
Make sure you connect with Dr. Andrea. She is an incredible human being.
Thank you.
And I'm Sifu Raphael. What can I say? I'm like Scott, really simple. SifuRaphael.com. Can't get any simpler than that. Connect with me. I love connecting with people. I love bringing people together. That I even created virtual spaces and in-person spaces. So my next event is February 27th through March 1st. It's happening in Tampa. And for those of us who are in the cold area, we want to go south right now. So join me in Tampa. And Zach, even though you're in the West Coast, you can always come to the East Coast and join us. We have people coming from Reno. We have people coming from Atlanta. We have people coming from everywhere because it's going to be an exceptional experience for everyone. Thank you, everybody. Do me a favor. Somebody needs to hear the message that was delivered today. So share this with your friends, your colleagues, even your loved ones. Because I got to tell you, the messages that were delivered today is going to help somebody. So do that. God bless you, everybody. Have a blessed and beautiful rest of the day. Take care.
see y'all.